Ladies, quickly grab whatever you're eating. Let us come back. We need to go right into our next presentation. Technical team, if our presenter is online, please pull them up on the screen as the ladies inside here are settling down. Remember, the competition from Airtel ends at 2. That is when we are closing the competition. So please post, tag, use the hashtags, and you might win yourself a MiFi from Airtel, as well as Cheza bundles to go with that. We are waiting for the technical team. And then later on in the afternoon, we are going to announce the winners of the Catch the Flag competition. So I hope you're excited for that. I also hope that we are approaching those mentors. Even at university, you can be a mentor. We have got students from secondary school.
Recording in progress.
So you can even find a mentor who is doing the career path that you want, the course that you want. You can meet them and say, I want to know how you got into this particular course, and then they can help you along the line. I think a lot of what I've liked is a lot of our graduates are telling us what they are doing, or our university students are telling us what they are studying. So if you are a student at secondary school level, you can always reach out to them and ask them to mentor you, because most likely they have gone through that path and it's easy for them to now guide you. You do not need to struggle when somebody has gone before you. Technical team, I am still waiting for you. I hope our speaker is online. Remember to also find friends that uplift you, but it's also very important that you should be a friend that uplifts others. Hello, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, welcome. And then I'm going to leave the floor to you. Hello, can you hear us? We can see the presentation up on screen, but we do not seem to be hearing from Evelyn. Evelyn, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
All right, Evelyn, we can now start with your presentation. The people in the conference hall are ready and waiting to hear from you.
Thank you. Thank you, Malawi. Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to join you, my cyber sisters and cyber enthusiasts, and to be able to share some insights. My task here this morning is simple, I should say, and it is to share insights on how global agreements are shaping our future. My name is Evelyn. I am from Sierra Leone. I am a diplomat by profession. I am a cyber enthusiast by heart, a cyber diplomat. Prior to being thrown into the cyberspace some 5 years ago, I had zero knowledge of what it all entails. As a matter of fact, when I was nominated for the Women in Cyber Fellowship, I was worried, I was scared. It sounded all too techy for me. And I am not a technical person. I am artsy, I am policy oriented, but to think of cybersecurity, it was a blurred line. But once we got into the policy making, the governance of cybersecurity, it is the best thing that ever happened to me. And to encourage all of you that if I can do it, it means you all can do it. So let me just go right into our topic for today. Let's take a deep dive into the process. I would want for us to start with the UN Cybercrime Convention. Its official title is the United Nations Convention Against Cybercrime, Strengthening International Cooperation. Yeah, it sounds like a long name, but believe you me, before we could get to this name, it took over 8 years of negotiation. It's not 8 years, but it's over 8 sessions of negotiation. It sounded like a very, very, very long time, but it was a lot of back and forth. So yes, the negotiations were held across 8 substantive sessions from 2021 to 2024 between Vienna and New York. The proposal was initiated in the beginning by Russia way back in 2017, and the chair of this session, this working committee, was the formidable woman. She's a diplomat, Madame Fauzia Balmazia Mbeki of Algeria. And I intentionally mentioned her so that name is stuck in your head, because to see a woman negotiate this convention that had so many contentious elements was, for me, a great motivation and inspiration. The UN Cybercrime Convention was intense, and the mandate came from the UN General Assembly Resolution 74247, and that was the resolution that created the ad hoc committee to elaborate a comprehensive treaty. It's important because this is the first universal attempt to develop a global treaty on the use of ICTs. Over the decade, we've witnessed a proliferation of global agreements, from Budapest Convention, Malabo Convention, to this newly adopted UN Cybercrime Convention. They all have something in common, and the aim is at shaping the norms, the laws, and cooperation frameworks that define our digital future. These instruments also each reflects the tensions, the triumphs of multilateralism, balancing sovereignty with cooperation, innovation with security, and global consensus with regional priorities. It is important to note all of these because every country has their own priorities. Remember that we all have our cultures, we have our religious beliefs, and cyber is one thing that cuts across all of us. So how do we begin to engage with all our differences to be able to create governing tools that we can all agree with and that we can all also benefit from? So going into negotiations like that, you're going with your personal beliefs, what you want to see for yourself, for your future, but then you're negotiating for your country. What does your country want? And there's a broader picture as well. You're negotiating for your continent. What does Africa want? So putting all of these together to negotiate was difficult, was enlightening, but it also taught us that you have to be able to let go of something to be able to get something. And that is where the consensus part came in. How are you going to be able to allow countries that are big on human rights to have a lot of human rights provisions in the negotiations or in the convention against countries who believe that it is not important, who believe that human rights does not have a place in the convention, who believe that human rights can be negotiated or have other forums where they can be effectively negotiated. So this is just, the basis of what went down. Now, next slide, please. Yes, as I already said, it was negotiated under the mandate from the UN General Assembly 74247, and that was what created the ad hoc committee to elaborate a comprehensive treaty against the use of cybercrime against the use of ICT for cybercrime purposes. Next slide, please. Okay, so from the beginning of the negotiation, from day one, we realized that there was a big divide. We had a north-south divide. The two blocks emerged from day one. And this is just also to tell you, as I mentioned earlier, that we all have our priorities. So the South were pushing for a broad list of cyber-dependent and cyber-enabled crimes. And the reason for that is because in Africa, the crimes that we grapple with are a bit different from what most other advanced countries are dealing with. For instance, at the time we negotiated this convention, Sierra Leone was facing deep fakes, fake news. That was a major thing for us, to a point where it created massive protests. People were killed. We had instances where the police and protesters, had a face-off. Police stations were burned. And this is all because somebody sits in a different country. They have huge following online, and they can just sit there and tell others what to do, give them lies, coerce them, and they believe. And so we wanted to have that aspect criminalized. So I will tell you for a fact that I was one of those pushing to have that criminalized. But also, we also pushed for the sovereignty clause. Every country have the right to make their own laws. We also did not want a lot of human rights safeguards, because we believe that even though there should be freedom online, you are not free to make any kind of pronouncement that would affect another person or would affect your government. So we wanted to have that balance, to say that, okay, yes, freedom online, freedom of speech, but then what safeguards do we put on that? We did not want a broad, unlimited rights of, human rights. And of course, every country in Africa wanted capacity building, technical assistance, and including technology transfer. The reason being that if we have to negotiate on a level playing field, there need to be some equity. We have to be able to negotiate on a level playing field. And we know that most countries in Africa are only playing technology catch-up. We don't have the tools. We don't have the technology. So that was it was in fact a red line for Africa. Now, the Global North favored a narrow criminalization. They also favored strong human rights provisions and broad international cooperation safeguards. They also have their reasons. But in the end, there was some give and take. We got some, they got some, they lost some, we lost some, but we got a treaty. And for us, that was a beginning of something that we can continue to work on. Next slide, please. The areas of disagreement in the treaty, the main ones was the scope of the treaty, as I just mentioned. A lot of countries wanted more cyber-enabled versus cyber-dependent crimes. The criminalization of offenses that were to be criminalized was also an area of disagreement, because some countries wanted a long list of crimes to be criminalized. Yes, so we all know the crimes. Let's list them and make sure we criminalize all of them. This was one of the disagreements. And of course, the human rights safeguards, international cooperation, there were some disagreements there. And then the wording of the CSAM articles.